unpublished, but as mentioned earlier, Earth plays a key role um, in ushering in a whole new different era in the cosmos. So I want to welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here. For my moderators, for keeping the chat in a high vibration. Thank you guys so much for being here. For all my new subscribers, welcome to the Galactic Jedi Tribe. Galactic Jedi Tribe. I decided to wear my Galactic Jedi Tribe hat today since I have one. I've had one for almost a year. I figured I better wear it sometimes. But I'm feeling a little bit better. Not going to lie, guys. I'm still coughing up stuff. I've had this flu since Friday evening. But I definitely feel better than Monday, and I definitely feel better than Sunday. But nothing's going to stop me from sharing knowledge and information, especially when it is needed at this time in the history of our world. So, a few things that I do want to mention, guys. The first thing that I want to mention is that for those that don't know me, my name is Ismael Perez, and I am the author of those two amazing books, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. Where's that one? Somewhere back there. And of course, Our Cosmic Origin, both which reveal and restore galactic information back to the Earth. Another thing I wanted to share is that for those that are interested in going over chapter 2 with me, covering my life from the age of 12, which I call my rebellious years, from the age of 12 to the age of 19, I would strongly suggest taking my webinar where only about 20 individuals are going to be allowed, so it can be very personal and interactive, where I go over chapter 2 of my unpublished book, The Cosmic History of Ismael Perez. And again, that is going to be taking place this coming Saturday. Okay, this coming Saturday. So go to my website, ourcosmicorigin.com, so that you guys could be one of those 20 people that are going to partake in that special webinar. In addition to that, I do have a new set of classes beginning not this coming weekend, but the following weekend on the 21st and the 22nd of March. I have 3 level ascension courses for beginners, for intermediates, and then, of course, for those that are super advanced. And not to mention, I also have my groundbreaking class, Our Cosmic Origin, which restores galactic information back to the Earth, or galactic history, rather, back to the Earth. And, of course, breaks down the cosmic infrastructure, revealing the different types of advanced space age civilizations, the different intergalactic councils. So if you really want to go deep into the cosmic stuff, I would suggest taking our Cosmic Origin class. That is the most mind-bending class so far on the planet. I don't think there is anyone out there that teaches cosmic history to the extent and breaks down the whole infrastructure to the extent that I do. So welcome everyone. Another final thing, the folium is in stock. Thank God. This is probably one of the reasons why my immune system began to fail me 3 weeks ago when I first got food poisoning, and then last Friday when I got the cold flu, whatever it was, bug. So I'm finally back on folium, guys. I hope you guys are also on folium. And again, the main purpose of this product is nature's way of getting rid of all the nanotech, the graphene, the stuff that was injected in people, the radiation, and then, of course, when there is no nanotech in your body, where there are no metals, it's impossible for parasites to exist. So with that having been said, one final thing. I will be a presenter, and I will be making an appearance at the Rise of the Guardians conference, May 8th, 9th, and 10th here in Sedona, Arizona at the Arts Center, I believe. And my talk is going to be Saturday, I believe. Saturday at 2, I believe, or 4 o'clock. Let me just double check here for you guys. So yeah, my talk is exactly at 4:25 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, and by the way, Arizona's back to Pacific time. So there's actually light outside once again. So I'm excited about that. I don't have to go live at 7 anymore. So we're back in Pacific time. So yeah, I will be posting the link for those that are interested in attending the conference. I heard that a lot of the great other great speakers are going to be there within this field of disclosure. So I will go ahead and post that link at the end of the live, and I will pin it in the comments for those that are interested. Make sure you go through my link so that I could get credit. Okay, so with no further ado, guys, I'm going to get right into it because today I'm going to be covering this subject from different perspectives. Now, one of the things that I've been able to access throughout the course of my research and investigation is a lot of the secret knowledge and esoteric wisdom when it comes to a lot of the stuff that was left out of the Bible and other ancient books. So, when you think of the different sacred traditions of humanity, whether they were preserved in the canonized ancient scriptures, right? We all know that there's been over 700 books that were left out of the Bible, but the original teachings were actually preserved in what they called the mystical teachings of the Great White Brotherhood. And of course, even the esoteric cosmology was preserved there. And a lot of this actually cross references with a lot of the galactic archives and records that have also been restored by the Galactic Alliance. So, regarding the existence of the coming of the host of heaven, or this grand event that's going to usher in not only a whole new era here on the earth, but literally a whole new era throughout the universe, where this earth gets to once again become the kingdom, you could say the main center of the kingdom of God, has a lot to do with the rise of what I've been referring to as metahumans. Okay, well, let me explain. We all know that for centuries, this phrase has often been interpreted as a dramatic celestial arrival, right, from the heavens, armies of angels descending from the sky at the end of time. Well, that's what the literal interpretations wanted you to believe, okay? Yet within the deeper metaphysical communities and those that have preserved the advanced cosmological teachings, which I fortunately have had access to, the sky at the end of time, or the idea that that they would return from the sky at the end of the time, is actually a wrong teaching. It is a false teaching. Okay. When all actuality, guys, the coming of the host of heaven is not just also a physical descent from the skies. No, it is an incarnation program. Okay, and again, a lot of this ties into the Starseed Envoy programs, and I will be making the connections there in a little bit. But it ultimately refers to a long-planned cosmic operation in which celestial intelligences incarnate into human form. And this is what the secret prophecies and metaphysical papers have preserved. Okay, so yes, the elites have always had access to this kind of information, and that explains why they've been trying so hard to numb us down, to suppress our abilities with chemtrails, with frequency warfares. With that's why I believe in this product, because I can't think of any other product that helps do all three things: gets rid of the nanotech, the graphene oxide, the parasites, and of course the negative radiation. Okay, so when you think about how the celestial intelligences were originally depicted as these beings that were scheduled to incarnate into human form, entering the evolutionary stream of Earth in order to assist in a monumental transformation known as the spiritualization of matter. All right, so for those that have read our Cosmic Origin, you probably know what I'm talking about. I talk about how there's three planes of existence overall. We have the spiritual, eternal realms, which have always existed. And then we have the etheric, mental realms, which is the in-between point. And then we have the material realms, which are the finite realms, right? Well, it is believed, according to the secret knowledge, that there would come a time where even the material realms would become spiritualized so that the material realms could also become eternal along with the etheric and celestial realms. In other words, the hosts of heaven um, did not just arrive from above, okay? They've actually been entering the human story for quite some time, incarnating across generations to guide the planet towards its destined role in the greater cosmic order. Now, throughout history, they've been coming in small numbers. However, now, due to the greatest dispensation that has been bestowed upon us, uh, they are incarnating, and they have been since the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They have incarnated in the millions. Okay, that is the difference. So, when you think of the ancient plan for the spiritualization of matter, as laid down by the celestial architects, and according to advanced cosmology, the universe itself is engaged in a grand evolutionary process where matter, which appears dense and inert at the lower levels of reality, is actually condensed consciousness. Well, over cosmic cycles, this matter gradually becomes infused with higher levels of awareness and light. So, this process is known in many mystical traditions as the spiritualization of matter. Okay. And so, the objective of this transformation is not the abandonment of the physical world, but rather its elevation into a higher expression of divine consciousness. So, instead of spirit escaping matter, which is what some false teachings, some people have been falsely teaching, spirit in this case illuminates and begins to transform matter at a physical level. Okay. And that creates what is known as a universe in which physical worlds. Hi, Kitty. Oh, I'm back at home, by the way, obviously. Uh, Creating a universe in which physical worlds become expressions of divine intelligence. So, Earth apparently occupies a very unique place within this process. And this is why another reason why the Earth is, I would say, the most important planet in our universe. I forgot to get my water. Can you guys give me 1 second? Oh, yes, please. I appreciate that. All right. So many cosmic traditions, as you guys probably already know, have described the Earth as a living library, right? A planetary experiment where genetic, spiritual, and even evolutionary lineages from across all over the universe converge. Well, because of this unique role, Earth was selected long ago as the location where one of the universe's most extraordinary transformations would eventually occur, making the Earth the center of the universe, right? In other words, the new headquarters world for the kingdom of light, for the kingdom of God. So this transformation would culminate in the spiritualization of planetary matter itself, turning Earth into a higher order world where consciousness and physical reality are fully harmonized. Thank you. Um, so it has been predicted in the secret knowledge that the Earth would be some sort of a future kingdom sphere of our universe. Okay. And so in order to have a kingdom sphere, you have to have the host of heaven incarnate in order to spiritualize and make that reality into a kingdom sphere. Okay. Within certain cosmic traditions, particularly those that discuss the evolutionary structure of the universe, there does exist a concept known as the kingdom sphere. A kingdom sphere is not just a planet with advanced technology or spiritual teachings. Rather, a kingdom sphere is a world where divine consciousness becomes fully expressed through matter, where civilization operates in harmony with universal laws, and where beings embody both spiritual and physical mastery. So long before human civilization even emerged, cosmic councils and higher orders of intelligence recognized that Earth possessed the rarest conditions that was necessary to eventually become such a world. However, reaching this stage would require an extraordinary intervention. So rather than ruling Earth from the outside, higher celestial orders, known by multiple terms, designed a plan that would unfold gradually over thousands of years. And that plan is now coming to fruition as we begin to transform into Homo luminous. They would incarnate. It is believed that the host of heaven would incarnate. And I'm not just talking about angels, I'm talking about archangels, um, creator gods and goddesses, all the way from dimensions 10, 11, and 12. Um, and I believe, even to an extent, a few cosmic rashis, which are gestalts of collective consciousness that exist in eternity. Okay. So they would begin incarnating into the planetary population in order to make this world a what they called a kingdom world. Okay. So this is what many esoteric traditions refer to as the descent of the host of heaven. It's not a literal descent from the sky, it is undergoing the incarnational process. So, the incarnational process of the host of heaven, also known as the celestial host, traditionally described in spiritual texts as angels, archangels, and even higher orders of divine beings, have entered the human lineage through the natural process of incarnation. By taking human form, these beings could eventually participate directly in the human evolutionary process, anchor higher frequencies of consciousness into the physical world, and guide civilizations through inspiration, teachings, and of course, leadership. And of course, not to mention, gradually prepare humanity for the next stage of planetary evolution. This incarnational strategy allowed higher intelligences to work through human society rather than dominate it from above. So, across history, many of humanity's greatest spiritual teachers, innovators, and even visionaries have been described in mystical traditions as members of the heavenly host, like Nikola Tesla. He was a member of the heavenly host, like Jesus the Christ. He was a member of the heavenly host, like Buddha. You guys get me, right? Well, now the heavenly hosts are incarnating in the millions, okay? That's the difference. So their mission, excuse me. Again, I'm still recuperating from a bad cold, flu, whatever it was. Their mission was not simply to teach morality or religion. Their deeper purpose was to seed the frequencies and knowledge necessary for the future transformation of the earth into a heavenly sphere world, okay, which is what they called a kingdom world. So, how does this tie into the Starseed Envoy program? Well, the Galactic Alliance ensured me that the same envoy program that we call the Starseed Envoy program is the exact thing that the secret knowledge of the ancient mystical traditions were referring to regarding the incarnational of fifth dimensional beings, sixth dimensional beings, seven dimensional beings, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and even a few from the 13th and above realms. Okay, that's what that means. So, within modern cosmic awareness, or narratives rather, this incarnational strategy is sometimes referred to as, of course, the Starseed Envoy program. And I believe that my channel attracts nothing but starseeds. I think all of you guys are, okay? This program has described the arrival of advanced souls from various civilizations and higher dimensions who incarnate on Earth in order to assist with the planet's transition into a higher evolutionary phase. So members of this program are believed to originate from a wide range of star systems and spiritual hierarchies. Many identify themselves as part of what is commonly called, of course, the Galactic Alliance. Before it was known as the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and now it is known as the Universal Federation, after we've cleaned up the corrupt Federation. Which is a coalition of advanced civilizations that support the development of emerging worlds. Okay, so that's what that means. Now, according to this perspective, many individuals on Earth today are not just experiencing their first existence on this planet either. Rather, they are souls who volunteer to incarnate here in order to assist during a critical period of planetary transformation. Okay, so these individuals are often referred to, of course, as starseeds, indigos, crystal children, rainbow children. There's so many names to describe them. Okay, and ultimately they are the ground crew, right? The ground crew, boots on the ground, as they call it, reflecting the role as emissaries embedded within human civilization. And so while many starseed envoys originate from advanced civilizations within the galaxy, some originate from other galaxies, some galactic records describe the participation of even higher orders of consciousness beyond just starseeds that are also here. As mentioned, according to the secret knowledge, guys, among these beings that are now in human form, that are a part of their consciousness is fractal. A fractal of their consciousness has incarnated in human form, right, until they ascend, and then they are able to reintegrate their entire consciousness into human form. So a part of their fractal that is here are the seraphim. There is a good chunk of humans out there who are known as the blue-ray seraphim. You know who you are, blue-ray seraphim, okay? Those are ninth dimensional beings from Sirius B. Of course, many different accounts refer to them as luminous intelligences that are associated with higher levels of divine light and cosmic order. Another group of incarnated advanced beings are archangels. Archangels. Well, these are powerful guardians and coordinators of not only planetary evolutions, but also as overseers of universes themselves. And they do act as intermediaries between divine will and creation, of course. So there are some of you guys here that are fractals of Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel. Okay, you guys all know where I'm heading. Okay, and during the ascension, you will be integrating the rest of your consciousness. Right now, you are a fractal, though. Okay, so you have different bodies. You have 11 other bodies that are sharing your consciousness until you ascend. And then we have, which is a small group of starseeds, the Elohim. Now, these are creator intelligences that are involved in the formation of the structuring of universes, galaxies, planets, and life systems. Okay, these are what we call the architect races. And if you are an Elohim, that means that a small fractal of your full consciousness is already here in human form. And you're getting ready to anchor in the other 99.9%, okay, when you ascend. Well, when you ascend, when you reintegrate, right? Because we're here to spiritualize matter. For those that are just jumping on, make sure you guys watch this from the beginning. We're going to go deep again, describing how the hosts of heaven are all incarnated here now. The entire team, the entire spiritual hierarchy, as they call it in the secret knowledge, is all here. And that includes all the ascended beings like the ascended masters. You know, Saint Germain, a fractal of Saint Germain is here. A fractal of Serapis Bey, Kutumi, El Moria, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, you name it. They're all down here, all right? So within certain metaphysical frameworks, members of the celestial orders have also chosen to enter the human incarnational cycle due to the fact that this earth will become the center the new center of the universe. And this does not mean that their full cosmic identity is present within the physical body. It's impossible, all right? Only fractals are able to come until they are ready to reintegrate and collapse. Rather, a portion aspect of their consciousness projects into a human lifetime, while their higher identity continues to exist within the greater spiritual realms. But again, because we are a bridge species, when we undergo the multidimensional reintegration process of collapsing realities, we will be able to integrate the higher spiritual realms with the physical lower realms, therefore spiritualizing earth or matter into eternity. Okay. And this will allow these beings to not only participate directly in the human story, giving them the ability to understand the human condition while still maintaining their broader cosmic roles. And their presence helps anchor powerful spiritual frequencies into the planetary field, accelerating the transformation of human consciousness and planetary matter all at the same time. Okay, so let's continue here. As more members of the heavenly host begin incarnating within human society, a gradual transformation is now beginning to unfold, especially as the first waivers are getting ready to hatch. Now, for those of you guys that are the first waivers, you guys are the most powerful beings. Okay, you guys are going to be the first to undergo this multidimensional integration where the rest of your consciousness, which is still existing in the heavenly realms, will be able to fully embody into your physical form. Okay, so it's going to start with a small group of people. Those are the first waivers. They are the core. And then, of course, that will also set the trigger for the second waivers, which is a group of seraphim, a group of angelics. And what I mean by that is any soul that operates from the fifth dimensional level of reality to the ninth. That's what I mean. Okay. And then the third wave will be the rest. And of course, the earth terrans that are willing to wake up. So this transformation, excuse me, this transformation is not imposed through external authority, but it arises through the awakening of the human consciousness itself. So as individuals begin to remember their deeper spiritual identity, several shifts are going to occur. The first one is that humanity will begin to transcend purely materialistic worldviews. In fact, for those of you that are part of the first wave, who are these divine creator intelligences known as Elohim or above, you've already transcended materialistic worldviews. You have no interest in the 3D world anymore. Okay? And trust me, I know who you are. All right? Consciousness also becomes recognized as the foundation of reality. That means that whoever you are that are part of the first waivers, you no longer see yourself as an individual that is separated from everything, but as an integral part of the whole. You become one with all life. And also you begin to understand that your consciousness is what is constantly shaping your reality. Okay, so if you are in that bracket, you are Elohim. Third of all, science and spirituality no longer are opposites. They are two sides of the same coin. Okay. So when you start seeing them from this perspective, that means that you are already reaching what is known as Christ consciousness. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit because another misunderstanding regarding the second coming of Jesus is this physical event from the sky. And Jesus never said that he was going to return from the sky. Okay. He was speaking in allegories and in metaphors. He was actually referring to the activation of millions of people that have elevated their mind into the Christ consciousness. All right, so let's continue here. And then the fourth thing is human DNA and energetic systems gradually activate dormant capacities. So if you are already beginning to become telepathic, if you are already communicating with the force, the unified field, understanding things before they happen, reading energy, then you are part of the first waivers. Okay. Communicating with animals to a form, to an extent, affecting reality with your mind, including technology, then you are part of the first waivers. Okay. That's already if you are doing these things. Through this process, those that are celestials in human form will become the instrument through which matter is spiritualized, which is going to be setting the stage, or rather, the example for others to follow. So the transformation of the planet, therefore, occurs not through divine intervention alone, but through the transformation of the human species into a higher form of being. Now, there is a paper within the secret knowledge called The Emergence of a New Planetary Civilization. And some of the custodians regarding this paper were the ancient Knights Templars, and they passed this paper down excuse me, to the Rosicrucians. One second, guys. Please bear with me, guys. I'm still trying to finalize this bug. I'm trying to mute myself. There we go. All right. Thank you for your patience. Again, there's just so much information that even when I'm not feeling very well, I feel like I'm obligated to report and give you guys the information. Okay. Okay. So let's continue here. So, as the incarnational mission of the heavenly host reaches its culmination, Earth gradually will transition into a new stage of planetary development. Now, civilizations begin to operate according to principles aligned with cosmic law and universal harmony when this occurs. Advanced knowledge of consciousness, energy, and even interdimensional science becomes widely understood. And so the second coming of Christ as the global activation of the Christ mind is what the secret knowledge has always preserved. And this is what the Vatican and all those fundamental Orthodox religions wanted to hide from us for almost 2,000 years. That the true meaning of the second coming of Christ was a global activation of the Christ mind within millions of people. Okay. So for centuries, religious traditions have spoken about the second coming of Christ as a future event in which a divine figure could actually return to the earth and establish the kingdom of God. In many interpretations, this event has been imagined as the physical realm of Jesus descending from the heavens in a dramatic moment that would transform the world overnight. And that is what the Orthodox religions, which are extensions of the mother harlot, the Catholic Church, which is, again, controlled by the Babylonian Brotherhood, right? The Illuminati reptilian bloodline, wanted us to believe, so that we could always expect a savior outside of us, or an external savior. They've always wanted us to believe that. Yet within deeper mystical traditions, those that held the true knowledge that was rooted in the true teachings of Christianity, not the distorted teachings of what we call today conventional scriptures, but also within the teachings of the Gnostics and even advanced metaphysical cosmology, they've all described the second coming as a profound and expansive way in which the Christ mind would begin to activate in millions and millions of people. So rather than referencing to a return of a single individual, the second coming is actually more interpreted as the awakening of the Christ consciousness within humanity itself. So, in this view, the second coming is not the arrival of Christ from the outside, but the activation of the Christ mind within, beginning with the first, right, ascenders, followed by the second, and then the third. And by then, it would be millions of humans across the planet, right? Marking the emergence of a new stage in human evolution, Homo luminous. So, the Christ mind refers to a state of consciousness for those that are interested in learning about the Christ consciousness. The Christ mind refers to a state of consciousness in which an individual becomes fully aligned with a divine intelligence that permeates the entire universe. Just like the Jedi's become one with the Force, right? So do we. When we activate our superhuman potential, we have to do it by, again, achieving a state of consciousness that aligns with all divine intelligence that permeates the entire universe. Okay, and this is what I teach in my ascension courses, by the way, but I go deeper into that. It is the awareness of unity, of the unity between spirit and matter, between self and creation, between humanity and the cosmos. So that is what the Christ mind is, right? It is the divine intelligence that permeates the entire universe, and it is us becoming one with it. Other names for it is cosmic consciousness, Buddhist consciousness, universal awareness. So, in the early Christian mystical schools, because again, I am a Christian mystic, and just like C.S. Lewis was, but in the early Christian mystical tradition, this idea was hinted at by the Apostle Paul when he wrote that, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ." Quote. Okay, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ. So it was referred to by Paul the Apostle once in the Bible. Well, this statement suggests that the consciousness embodied by Christ was not meant to remain exclusive to one individual, but rather represented a state of awareness that humanity as a whole could eventually attain. The Christ mind, therefore, represents the highest potential of human consciousness, a state in which individuals operate through love, wisdom, creativity, and spiritual mastery. So, when this level of awareness becomes widespread among humans, the transformation described in ancient prophecies begins to unfold. So, when ancient prophecies spoke about the return of Christ, they were often describing a collective awakening of consciousness that would occur at a pivotal moment in human history. And that moment is happening now. So instead of one individual appearing as a savior, millions of individuals begin to awaken to the divine presence within themselves. And they all appear as saviors, right? The host of heaven. Think about it. All right. Well, this awakening activates the dormant spiritual potential embedded within the human consciousness and biology. As the Christ mind begins to activate within humanity, people will begin to experience profound shifts in perception and in identity. A recognition that consciousness is the foundation of reality, that the dissolution or dissolution of rigid divisions between humanity and the divine are an illusion, right? That an expansion of empathy, compassion, and unity awareness, the emergence of intuitive and multidimensional perception, a deep sense of purpose aligned with the evolution of the planet. So, all of that is part of the shift in perception. So, this transformation does not happen instantaneously either. Rather, it unfolds gradually as waves of awakening spread through the global population. So, as the Christ mind activates within individuals, it will begin to influence not only their consciousness, but also their biological and energetic systems. Many advanced metaphysical traditions suggest that human DNA contains dormant capacities that were designed to activate when humanity reached a certain level of spiritual maturity. These latent abilities correspond to expanded states of awareness and enhanced physical vitality. So, as the Christ consciousness spreads across the planet, these dormant capacities will begin to awaken. The result is the gradual emergence of what some traditions refer to as the superhuman, the Uberman, right? Which is, something that Hitler was trying to create, but we were still too premature. Now we're ready to become the Uberman. Now we're ready to become the Superman or the superhuman, the Uberman, as they called it in Germany, right? All right. So these abilities may include, or will include rather, heightened intuition and telepathic awareness, a deeper connection to universal intelligence. Now, what is universal intelligence? It is the divine intelligence that permeates all the universe, right? It is the collective intelligence of all living things, Christ consciousness. Accelerated healing, that's going to be a power, and regenerative capabilities. In other words, your body's going to go from carbon-based to crystalline, which is what they considered a type of body that regenerates extremely fast, where even a wound heals within minutes, right? We're going to also experience expanded perception beyond the five senses. So we're going to be experiencing and abilities or perceptions that make the five senses look like nothing. Okay. We're talking about developing the sixth sense, the seventh sense, the eighth, ninth, 10, 11, and 12. Not to mention enhanced creativity and problem solving abilities like a supercomputer. Okay. So what that means is that both our right and left hemispheres are going to be working together as one unimind with the higher mind in control, which is the higher divine mind. And as a result of this, profound emotional and spiritual resilience, which means that nothing's going to break us. Okay. These capabilities are not supernatural anomalies, but rather expressions of human potential that has remained largely dormant throughout history. I had an incident this morning where I bit my lower lip by accident as I was chewing my food, and that really hurt. Anyways, it was bleeding, but it's trying to do better now. It's trying to heal. Talk about, instantaneous healing. I think I need that just about now. So, anyways, all right. So the activation of the Christ mind serves as the catalyst that begins to unlock these abilities. As described in the broader cosmic narrative, many members of the host of heaven and the Galactic Alliance are believed to have incarnated into human form as part of the planetary transformation process. Now, this is coming from the Jupiter Archive, okay? The Jupiter Archive. And these incarnated beings, often referred to as starseeds or ground crew, carry within their consciousness a connection to higher levels of awareness. And so their role is not to dominate humanity, but to help initiate and stabilize the awakening process. By embodying higher frequencies of consciousness, they act as catalysts that can actually help activate the Christ mind within the wider human population. This is what they call the Maharishi effect. So when all the star seeds, right, all the way from babies that are being born now to the age of 90, when they activate the Christ mind, the millions of star seeds within that age group, that's going to activate or automatically activates the Christ mind in the rest of the humans, which is awesome. Okay, this is what they call the 100 monkey syndrome effect. And so their presence will gradually shift the collective field of consciousness on earth, making it easier for others to awaken to their own divine nature. So, in this sense, the incarnated host of heaven that are already here, I could have some archangels in the chat. I could have some seraphim in the chat. I could have some Elohim in the chat. All right. So, in this sense, the incarnated host of heaven becomes part of the mechanisms through which the second coming unfolds collectively rather than individually. Okay. So, as millions of individuals awaken to the Christ mind, the transformation begins to extend beyond personal consciousness and into the structures of civilization itself. Human societies gradually recognize, or I'm sorry, human societies gradually reorganize around principles that reflect higher awareness as a result of the planetary Christ mind being activated worldwide. And that would include cooperation, replacing domination instantly, wisdom replacing manipulation, transparency replacing secrecy, and compassion replacing exploitation. And so scientific understanding also begins to evolve as humanity recognizes that consciousness and energy are the foundations of physical reality. And this leads to breakthroughs in fields such as energy generation, medicine, communication, and interstellar exploration. And at the same time, humanity becomes increasingly aware of its place within a much larger cosmic community. Contact and cooperation with advanced civilizations become possible as the Earth transitions into a more harmonious and enlightened planetary culture. So, therefore, the activation of the Christ mind will lead to the emergence of a new stage in human evolution. In other words, it will birth a new humanity. And that is what the original secret prophecies depicted. That's what they told, okay? Humanity begins to move beyond the limitations that have defined the species for thousands of years. They begin to move from fear, from conflict, scarcity consciousness, and separation. And so, in their place emerges a civilization composed of individuals who embody the qualities traditionally associated with enlightened beings, like compassion, like wisdom, like courage, creativity, unity consciousness. These individuals are not divine in the sense of being separate from humanity. Rather, they represent humanity fulfilling its original design. And so the prophecy of the second coming, therefore, describes the moment when humanity itself becomes the living expressions of the Christ consciousness, which is the fulfillment of the original prophecies. Again, if it wasn't for the positive secret societies, the Rosicrucian Brotherhood, the Knights Templars, the ancient Essenes, the Therapeutae of ancient Egypt, none of these records would have made it till today. And yes, the Brotherhood of Light did their best to guard this information from being reached or being attained by the wicked, right? The Dark Brotherhood, who wanted to weaponize us, or they wanted to prevent us from transforming into superhuman, right? Offsetting the prophecy, but they couldn't. They couldn't do that. So when you view all of this from a deeper lens, the second coming of Christ is also not a distant supernatural event, but the awakening of humanity's divine nature. And so it is the moment when millions of individuals realize that the consciousness embodied by Christ was never meant to belong to only one person alone. No, it was meant to belong to every human being. In fact, every being, human in the universe. So instead, it represents the destiny of the human species. As this awakening spreads across the planet, which is already happening at an extraordinary rate, the ancient prophecies begin to fulfill themselves in an unexpected yet profound way. Christ returns not as a single figure descending from the heavens, but as a collective awakening of humanity into its highest spiritual potential. The emergence of a new humanity capable of transforming Earth into the living kingdom of heaven is what's happening. And so humanity no longer sees itself as an isolated species, but as participants within a vast cosmic community. And so at this stage, Earth begins to fulfill the destiny and vision long ago by the cosmic architects who designed the incarnational plan of the host of heaven at a time like this for this specific reason. Right, where the planet will become what is known as the kingdom sphere world, according to the secret knowledge. The kingdom sphere world. I still have some. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. The kingdom sphere world, where it is a living example of the union between spirit and matter. So in the end, the prophecies of the coming of the host of heaven, or what they call the secret prophecies, reveals a truth far more profound than the image of celestial armies descending from the skies. The host of heaven did not come, they began incarnating since the 1950s, I believe. Thank you. And in larger numbers now. I hear that every child that is being born is no longer a terrestrial being. It is a celestial being. Okay. All right. Let's continue here. It has been revealed that through countless incarnations across centuries of these celestial beings, celestial intelligences have entered human lineages. Believe it or not, Mary was one of them. Joseph of Arimathea was one of them. John the Baptist was one of them. All right. King Arthur was another. Solomon was another. And they've all kind of incarnated in small numbers throughout history, right? In order to guide the planet towards a destined transformation. So just like how you have human reptilian hybrids, right? Fractal consciousness is reptilian Draco into human form. Well, you also have the opposite of that. You have fractal consciousness of angelic, celestial, into human form. Same thing. So in the end, guys, human beings are not separate from the heavenly host, okay? We are supposedly the in-between point that is supposed to bridge the gap between heaven and earth, where divine consciousness learns to fully express itself. I'll repeat that again. Human beings are not, therefore, separate from the heavenly host. Rather, humanity represents the meeting point between heaven and earth, where divine consciousness learns to fully express itself through the physical universe. And as this process continues to unfold, the ancient plan moves ever closer to its fulfillment, which is what? The moment when the earth finally emerges as a spiritualized world, a kingdom sphere, and a beacon of divine life within the greater universe. Now, to support all this, I also was able to access a paper from the Emerald Holographic Records of the CDT plates, a paper titled The Fulfillment of the Orphan Prophecy. The Fulfillment of the Orphan Prophecy. All right, so for those that did not know, as a Cosmic Ambassador, I'm also a member of the Guardian Alliance, which allows me to have access to what is known as the CDT plates, the Chlora Dora Terra tablets, which is the original emerald holographic records. Okay. All right. So, within certain advanced esoteric traditions, the most oldest of the records are known as the cosmic um, cloister Dora tablets. Okay. Which is a primordial blueprint that contains the living records of creation itself. According to these teachings, the CDT is not just a written archive, but a holographic field of intelligence that stores the evolutionary pattern, timelines, and destinies of entire civilizations across the universe. Embedded within this cosmic blueprint are what many refer to now as the Emerald Holographic Records, which is a set of multidimensional incarnational matrices that preserve the original design pattern of life, consciousness, and spiritual evolution. These records have unfortunately been associated with the legendary Emerald Tablets due to Thoth's corruption of some of the plates, not all of them, because I believe that the Syrian and the Guardian Alliance, the Blue Ray Syrians, took the two important tablets back to Sirius, and Thoth, the son of Enki, only had access to the 10 tablets. And of course, he later transcribed them into the Emerald Tablets. But that was just a fraction of the knowledge contained within the 10 CDT plates. So yeah, they're holographic plates. They're non-physical. And rather than being books or inscriptions, the Emerald records are believed to be living holographic structures of light, accessible only to higher states of consciousness. They function as a cosmic memory field containing the genetic and spiritual architecture of advanced races, star systems, and planetary civilizations. Now, according to this particular paper, that again helps to support the secret prophecies titled The Fulfillment of the Oriphan Prophecy. Okay, the fulfillment of the Oriphan Prophecy. Among the many revelations contained within the CDT plates are a prophecy, or is a prophecy, describing the eventual emergence of a unique lineage of beings known as the angelic Oriphan race. The angelic Oriphan race is supposed to be the union of spirit and matter. And so, according to the Emerald Holographic Records, the Oriphan represents one of the most advanced expressions of consciousness ever designed within the evolutionary framework of our universe. The term Oriphan refers to a lineage of beings that embody the perfect synthesis between two fundamental aspects of existence. One is the angelic consciousness of higher spiritual realms. The other is the biological and experiential capacity of physical life. So the Oriphan angelic race was the second experiment next to the Seraphim, and we all know that a group or a portion of the Seraphim rebelled against the one infinite creator, right? Unfortunately. But while angelic beings exist primarily within higher dimensional realms of light and intelligence, physical species possess the ability to evolve through direct interaction with matter, time, and space. So the Oriphan were designed to combine both of these qualities. They are described as beings who carry within their genetic and spiritual structure the ability to fully embody divine consciousness while simultaneously operating within the physical universe. In essence, they represent the successful spiritualization of matter, the very process discussed in earlier stages of the cosmic plan. And because of this unique design, the Oriphan are sometimes referred to in ancient cosmological traditions as the ultimate evolutionary bridge species. Now, the Emerald records indicate that the emergence that the emergence of the Orifim was not an accidental development either. It was a part of a long cosmic experiment involving numerous civilizations, different genetic lineages, and of course, many galaxies. And so, over a vast span of time, various advanced races participated in the refinement of biological and spiritual templates that would eventually make the Orifin possible. So, these developmental stages included contributions from multiple star systems and cosmic orders. And the goal was to produce a species capable of embodying multidimensional consciousness, advanced spiritual awareness, biological resilience, expanded cognitive capacity, and harmonious integration with cosmic law. So, Earth became a central location in this evolutionary experiment because of its extraordinary genetic diversity. As a convergence point for numerous cosmic lineages, the planet offered the ideal environment for the final integration of all of these evolutionary streams. So, within this context, humanity itself can be understood as part of the developmental process leading towards the Orifin emergence. So, the prophecy recorded within the Emerald holographic records describe a period in which members of the higher celestial orders, including those often referred to as the host of heaven, would begin incarnating within the developing planetary population. So this is also supported by the holographic records. Okay, these incarnations would serve multiple purposes. First, they would help stabilize the energetic and spiritual environment necessary for humanity's transformation. Secondly, they would introduce higher frequencies of consciousness into the human genetic field, gradually preparing the species for the next stage of evolution. And so, within this process, the presence of beings traditionally described as seraphim, archangels, Elohim, plays a significant role. These higher intelligences are said to project aspects of their consciousness into human lifetimes, embedding within humanity the spiritual codes necessary for future activation. And through these incarnational pathways, the angelic host becomes directly involved in the human evolutionary process. And this is why many mystical traditions speak of a time when the celestials will walk among humanity once again, as they did prior to the flood, right? In pre-biblical times. In this interpretation, the prophecy refers not to external visitations, but to incarnations and integrations within the human lineage itself. So, as the incarnational process unfolds over generations, the Emerald records described a gradual activation of dormant potentials within the human species. This activation corresponds with the awakening of the Christ mind, the expansion of human awareness into multidimensional perception, and the emergence of advanced biological capabilities, or rather capacities. When these developments reach a certain threshold, the next stage of evolution becomes possible, which is what they called the awakening of the Orifin consciousness within humanity. And this does not necessarily mean that creation of an entirely separate species overnight either. Rather, it describes a transformation in which human beings begin to embody a level of awareness and biological coherence that aligns with the original Orifin design. Individuals who undergo this transformation become capable of functioning as fully integrated beings of spirit and matter. They retain their physical form. I told you guys we're not going to leave this body, we're just going to transform it. They retain their physical form, but operate with the expanded awareness, compassion, and creative intelligence traditionally associated with higher celestial beings. So, according to this paper from the Emerald Holographic Records, the emergence of the Orphan marks the beginning of a new evolutionary phase, not only for the Earth, but for the wider cosmos. Well, this dovetails perfectly with all of the transmissions that I've been getting from Commander Valiant Thor, the Jupiter Command, regarding Earth becoming the intergalactic hub, right, of many universes. Well, there you guys go. Civilizations across the universe evolve through cycles of development, expansion, and transformation. However, the successful integration of angelic consciousness with physical matter, which is what's happening right now, the Starseed Envoy program, represents a milestone rarely achieved within the evolutionary history of many worlds. So the Orphan, therefore, becomes the living example of the next stage of cosmic development. The Orphan, therefore, becomes a living example of the next stage of cosmic development. Their role is not to dominate or rule other civilizations either, but to act as guides and catalysts for the spiritual evolution of the universe. Because they embody both higher dimensional awareness and physical experience, they also possess the ability to communicate and cooperate with a wide range of species and civilizations throughout the universe. And so, in this sense, the Oraphim become the ambassadors of a new cosmic paradigm, one which consciousness, cooperation, and spiritual mastery form the foundation of civilizations. So the Emerald Holographic Records describe the emergence of the Oraphim as the fulfillment of an ancient cosmic prophecy. And after countless cycles of experimentation and development, the universe finally produced a lineage, according to the holographic records, a lineage of beings capable of fully embodying their divine consciousness within the physical realm. This achievement signals the beginning of a new cosmic era. Earth, having served as the crucible for this evolutionary milestone, becomes recognized as a kingdom sphere world. Again, everything goes back to that concept of Earth becoming a kingdom sphere world. I want you guys to remember that word, kingdom sphere world. Sphere spelled S-P-H-E-R-E, which is a planet where the union of spirit and matter has reached its highest expression. So from this world emerges a new generation of beings who carry within themselves the potential to help guide the evolution of entire civilizations across the cosmos. In this way, the prophecies preserved within the Emerald Holographic Records reaches its fulfillment. The angelic Oraphim race, born from the union of heaven and earth, stands as the bridge between the spiritual realms and the physical universe, ushering in a new age of cosmic harmony and awakened consciousness. All right, this next part of the presentation comes from an ancient Sumerian tablet titled The End of Days. Yeah, The End of Days, okay? This paper that comes from an ancient tablet called The End of Days is titled The Hidden Guardian Bloodline and the Emergence of a Benevolent Anunnaki Race. Wow. And they're referring to the times of now. Okay, they're not referring to in the past. We're talking about at the end of this cycle, the hidden guardian bloodline and the emergence of a new benevolent Anunnaki race among the human race, right? Emerging from among the human race. Well, what does that entail, guys? That apparently there was a branch of the Anunnaki associated with the guardians, right? And these are the Anunnakis that were genetically associated with Syrian DNA, Lyran, and of course Pleiadian. They had no reptilian DNA. Okay. So again, people talk about Rh negative blood. Well, this is where your Rh negative blood comes from. All right, so let's continue here. According to this paper, the hidden guardian bloodline and the emergence of a benevolent Anunnaki race among them suggests that at a pivotal moment in planetary history, which is, I believe now, we're talking about the end of days, right? A group of individuals carrying a unique genetic and spiritual inheritance would awaken and step forward to help guide humanity into a new era. Well, some might look at these stories as different interpretations of various cultures, right? Often sharing a common theme, the emergence of a new class of enlightened beings, right? Well, if you guys remember, for those that have studied the Zechariah Sitchin material, the Anunnakis were also known as the Shining Ones, okay? The Shining Ones, those that come from heaven to earth. Well, according to this End of Days title paper, a new breed of benevolent Anunnaki, there was a secret lineage of Anunnaki beings that apparently they had children and their children had children. And somehow those descendants are well and alive today. Okay. And so within this tradition or within this paper, they believe that these beings are going to be described as a new generation of benevolent. They use the word benevolent Anunnaki. Well, I wonder why, because in the past, the malevolent Anunnaki were the ones that took over the earth, right? The draconian Anunnaki. So they call a new generation of benevolent Anunnaki, not in the sense of ancient rulers described in Mesopotamia mythology, but as a transformed lineage that has evolved beyond the mistakes of earlier cosmic civilizations. The prophecy of a guardian lineage, according to the End of Days tablet, ancient Sumerian tablet. So ancient records from several civilizations, including Sumerian, Egyptian, and even early mystical traditions, they all spoke of a time when a guardian race would arise from the already existing human race. Again, none of these esoteric records say that they're coming from the stars or from above anymore. They all say that they're going to be emerging from the already existing human race. They're all saying the same thing. That's fascinating. Okay. Unlike the ancient celestial beings who once ruled us, we talked about the negative Anunnaki, let's just call them the fallen angels. This new lineage would emerge from within the human population. They would carry the genetic memory of higher cosmic races while also possessing the empathy and humility that comes from living a human life. According to these prophecies, this lineage would serve as protectors and stewards of the earth, ensuring that humanity's transition into a higher civilization would occur without the domination and exploitation that characterized earlier ages. And because they understand both the celestial perspective and the human condition, these individuals would possess the ability to guide humanity through the challenges of planetary transformation. So, in ancient Mesopotamian mythology, we read that the Anunnaki were described as these powerful celestial beings that were what? Associated with the early development of human civilization. And we all know that that is the biggest lie ever, right? In many stories, they were depicted as gods who descended to Earth from planet Nibiru, influencing the creation of human societies and establishing the foundations of cultures, agricultures, and governance. However, the legends surrounding the secret Anunnaki lineage are very complex and often contradictory. Some traditions portray them as benevolent teachers, while others describe them as rulers who demanded loyalty and tribute from humanity. Well, when you begin to decipher and decode these ancient writings, you come to the realization that you had malevolent Anunnaki, which were Anunnaki infused with reptilian genetics, draconian genetics, and then you had benevolent Anunnaki or positive Anunnaki, which are the angelic version of the Anunnaki, Syrian genetics, Lyrian genetics, Pleiadian genetics. Okay, those are the two different factions of these Anunnaki races. So, within modern metaphysical interpretations, these stories are sometimes understood as symbolic reflections of earlier cosmic interactions between advanced civilizations and emerging human societies. Now, the guardian lineage described in this paper represents a new phase in this evolutionary relationship. Rather than ruling humanity as external gods, the new generation of celestial human beings would arise from within the human population itself, embodying a more evolved understanding of what it's like to be human, so that they could become better mentors, better teachers, and fulfill a greater responsibility with their powers, right? I think it was in the movie Spider-Man, with great powers comes greater responsibilities. Well, this is the reason why these angelic Anunnaki, these celestial Anunnaki, had to, again, fractals of their consciousness had to embody human form so that they could understand the human condition, so that when the time came for them to anchor in their entire consciousness as these advanced superhumans, super beings, as the ancients call them, the shining ones, they could use those powers for good. All right, so again, that is the reason that they incarnated as humans, in order to experience the struggles, the limitations, the emotional depth of human life, so that they could possess a level of empathy and moral awareness. So when the time comes for them to activate their full capacity, again, they will use their powers for good. Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that again, because there is a misunderstanding that all Anunnakis were evil, and that is not correct. There was a small group, and this is the reason why they never really talked about this other group of Anunnaki beings, because the powers that were, through Marduk, the son of Enki, rewrote all the history books, okay, making Enki look like the good guy, when we all know Enki is the father of lies, the great trickster, and the forebearer of all the Illuminati bloodlines. Okay, all right, let's continue here. So the emergence of this guardian lineage is also closely connected to the broader cosmic narrative described in earlier sections: the incarnation of celestial beings within the human race and the activation of higher levels of consciousness. Through centuries of incarnational experiences, members of higher celestial orders gradually integrate their awareness into the human evolutionary stream. This process allows the development of individuals who carry within themselves both human sensitivity and cosmic intelligence. These individuals represent the living bridge between two worlds. One is the biological experience of humanity, and the other is the spiritual awareness of celestial civilizations. And so, because of this integration, they are uniquely suited to guide the next stage of planetary evolution. So, according to this paper, the end of days, rather than ruling through the authority or domination, their influence will emerge through wisdom, insight, and the ability to inspire collective transformation worldwide. Again, all of these different records, they all say the same thing with different terminologies, right? So, as humanity approaches a period of profound transformation, and again, they're referring to now, this is the period of profound transformation. And it is associated with the awakening of the Christ mind and the emergence of the orphan consciousness. The guardian lineage begins to awaken as well. And so members of this lineage may appear outwardly as ordinary people. You guys might even, again, many of you guys are it, okay? Yet they carry within them inner awareness of their role in the unfolding cosmic plan. Their purpose, their purpose is not to establish a hierarchy of power, excuse me, but to protect the balance between spiritual evolution and human freedom. And because they have experienced life as human beings, they understand the importance of allowing humanity to grow through its own choices rather than what? Imposing control over them. So that's going to be fascinating. Okay. And again, these guardians, which are going to be many of the star people that are going to reintegrate their multidimensionality to the fifth and above dimensions, are going to be able to pop into the fourth D timeline to continue mentoring and protecting the Earth Terrans, as explained in these records. So all of these ancient records, guys, tie into everything that I've been saying regarding the trifurcation of timelines, the neutral timelines, those that go into the fifth or above, how they're going to have ascended abilities, which is exemplified by supernatural abilities or powers. Excuse me. Yes, guys, even when I'm sick, I still work, okay? When it comes to keeping you guys updated, and I can't even talk, keeping you guys informed and up to speed with all of this information, you know, nothing's going to stop me. So even when I'm sick, I work. So this perspective again distinguishes them from earlier mythological depictions of gods who demanded obedience. Instead, they embody a model of leadership based on service, compassion, and shared destiny. Now, there's one last thing that I wanted to share. So as Earth transitions into its role as a as a kingdom sphere world within the broader cosmic community, the guardian lineages is going to play an important role in guiding this transformation. And so their responsibility, I'm talking about you guys, because I know I attract a lot of the guardians to this channel. Your responsibilities will include helping humanity navigate the challenges of planetary transition, facilitating communication between Earth and advanced cosmic civilizations, protecting the balance of emerging planetary technologies, and preserving the spiritual integrity of the evolving human civilization. Because they embody both human and cosmic perspectives, they can actually serve as mediators between different cultures, species, and levels of consciousness. So, in this way, they become the stewards of the emerging planetary civilization, therefore fulfilling the hidden prophecies. And so, when viewed within the larger cosmic narrative, the prophecies of the guardian bloodline represents the culmination of several interconnected processes. The first one is called the incarnation of the host of heaven, which was, again, the records that were preserved by the positive secret societies, the Knights Templars, the Essenes, and then, of course, most recently, the Rosicrucians. The awakening of the Christ line, as preserved through the Gnostic teachings and other mystical Christian traditions, the emergence of the Orphan consciousness, as preserved through the ancient holographic records, and the transformation of humanity into a higher evolutionary state, as revealed through the Galactic Alliance. It's all perfectly coming together, okay? And so together, these developments mark the transition of Earth into a new phase of cosmic history. The guardian lineages does not rise as rulers, all right? They are going to be the guides, the mentors who understood both heaven and earth. And their presence will symbolize the moment when humanity begins to move beyond the age of myth and into the reality of its own cosmic destiny, which is going to be the title of my next upcoming book. So, cosmic destiny, an era in which the divine potential within the human species finally begins to unfold. Now, I know today's presentation was a long one, and I know that I cut you guys short last time, 2 days ago, during the Monday night Whitehat Alliance update. So I'm going to do about only 10 minutes of Q&A, guys, because, again, I need a rest right after this. This took a lot of energy from me. And I am here of service. I'm here of service. So if you guys want to ask me any question, make sure that you guys type those questions in capital letters. I do want to welcome all 2,800 people that are in the house. Welcome, welcome. Marty Leachy says, Namaste Ishmael and all my brothers and sisters of the Christ consciousness, infinite love beyond measure to all. Please call me Mary, aka Red Magnetic Skywalker. Shine your love and light. Well done. Well said, I mean. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Is it Saita? Saita Dams 9179. Thanks so much for your super chat. Will those who take meds for chronic conditions have a harder time or be behind with upgrades? Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. I don't know how to answer that question, and I'm not a medical advisor, so I'm not even going to try to answer that question. And I am no one to judge. So I guess we're going to all find out. All right, next question. Thank you, Billy Wise, for your super chat as well. So yeah, only 10 minutes of Q&A, guys. Does the Galactic Alliance have full control of all of the 12 Stargates portals? Now they do. After securing the one in Iran last week, yeah, now they do have access or control of all 12 Stargates. Absolutely. And do we need all of them to ascend? Yes, because when the convergence of dimensions takes place, all 12 gates are going to be opening up at the same time. And in order to facilitate an upward ascension into higher dimensions, they must be controlled by the forces of light. Ashley Gold 444, thank you so much for your super chat. Ishmael, do you believe that the nefarious beings whose bodies are in stasis in Antarctica have been projecting their consciousness and occupying elite bodies? Ooh, that's a good question. I often thought about that, Ashley. There is a huge possibility, yes, that could have been happening, because we do know that a lot of these negative players within the political arena, religious leaders, Netanyahu, they're all fractals of fallen angelic consciousness or fallen Anunnaki consciousness. So I do think that that could be a possibility. Absolutely. Yes, there could be a huge possibility that the first waivers could be this year. Absolutely. Thank you, Nic1155, for your super chat. She says, Ishmael, something came to me between my vision last night. Is the hole in the ozone layer some portal? No, that is the hole was ripped open due to our contamination of the ecosystem. It's not a portal. No, the portals are not up in the atmosphere. The portals are actually on the ley lines. They are on the ground. Good question, though. Thank you so much, Suzeka. She says, since my blood type is O negative, then I am then you are one of those benevolent Anunnaki, again, which is the other faction that nobody really talked about. Also, Ishmael, I have enough of this place. I don't feel like being a mentor or guide. I'd rather go back home. Well, that's going to be your choice. That's going to be your choice. I want to welcome Susan K. Thank Susan K for her donation. Thank you so much. What will happen with Iran? Well, after they take out every aspect and remnant of the Ayatollah, I believe that Iran is going to be a government given to the people of Iran, well, where they're going to have the opportunity to elect their own non-tyrannical leader, like a president, perhaps their own republic. So that's where it's all heading. Grant David Wilson says, you said you know in this podcast that you know who we are, our oversoul. So you must know who you are. Can you please tell us? Love your brother and sister. Gabriel, go on. Why not? Come on. Um, you know, I can't really reveal on a public platform who I am until the forces of darkness are fully eliminated. Because who knows, maybe the reason I got sick this week again and I got food poisoning 2 weeks ago is because it was done through a sonic frequency blast conducted by negative AI. Who knows? So I got to be careful. And I'm done traveling for a while, guys, because it seems like every time I leave Sedona, my protective zone, I end up getting sick. And, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have not been sick in over 25 years. I don't remember the last time I had a cold. I don't remember the last time I had a flu or even a stomach bug. So after 25 years of not being sick, I definitely feel like this could have been done through some sort of directed energy weapon. Who knows? But, I'm still alive, right? Yeah, they took me out of commission for a few days. Sunday was the worst. Oh man, Sunday I was so sick that it was very hard for me to talk. All right, let's continue here. Thank you, Ishmael. We're deeply indebted to you. Not at all. This is service that I do for the One Infinite Creator. You guys don't owe me anything. Now, if you guys really want to support me, take my courses. I think that is an equal exchange, right? Take Ascension, our Cosmic Origin, take whatever course you want. If you guys really want to help me, because that's how I get paid. I don't get paid. I do free lives. All right, let's continue here. Asian Throne, thank you so much for your super chat. I have a sun in my chest, literally. I think we all do because it's called the high heart chakra. And when it's fully activated, it actually acts as a central sun. I breathe out, it warms the room. When the sun is out, I can feel it sync with the sun in my chest. That is true. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for your super chat, Ray Folo. It's nice to see jewelry worn by man. Fun pieces you have. Thank you for all you do for us. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, I didn't even notice I had this piece. See, I was so busy today working on this presentation. I worked about 6.5 hours on this presentation that I completely forgot that my girlfriend put some jewelry on me as I was working. I just, I just looked at it for the first time. That's funny.